The wait is finally over, guys. Shimano has launched its first ever 1x gravel bike group set, and this is it here on this lovely green Mason Boca. But the big question, which I'll try and answer in this video, was the wait worth it? A little while ago I got to ride GRX over in Germany, where I tasted it in both mechanical and electronic Di2 versions, but in 2x, and it's fair to say I was impressed. You can see that video linked above and in the description below, or go and search road.cc for a more in-depth article. But I was keen to find out what the 1x version was all about, because really that's where Shimano have been lagging behind. SRAM for the last 4 or 5 years has dominated gravel and cyclocross with its Force and Rival 1x offerings. So Shimano had a bit of catching up to do, which they have finally done with new GRX. GRX is offered in a wide range of configurations, 2x and 1x, electronic and mechanical, got different cassette options, different chain set options. And there's also 3 price points as well. You've got 400, which is 2x and 10 speed only. You've got 600, which is 2x and 1x and mechanical 11 speed only. And then you have the 800, the range chopping version, which is Di2, mechanical, 2x or 1x. Options for 1x include either a 40 or 42 tooth chainring, and either 1140 or 1142 tooth cassette. That's your lot. The new group set is designed to work off-road, and stopping the chain falling off is a key focus. So the rear mech has a Shadow Plus clutch mechanism to prevent the chain moving forward and stop chain slap. This helps to minimise the risk of the chain falling off on rough terrain. You can switch it off for easy wheel removal. The chainring borrows technology from the mountain bike world. Dynamic chain engagement is a tooth profile that's slightly hooked and longer to provide a more secure interface with the chain and to help minimise the chain coming off. When it comes to stopping, the hydraulic disc brakes are basically the same as regular Ultegra, with flat mount calipers and Ice Tech disc rotors. The range topping RX 800 Di2 group set gets the posh servo wave brake technology from the mountain bike range for even better brake feel. For 1x, as on this bike, you can now have a dummy left-hand brake lever with no shift lever, so nice and clean. But if you're riding really gnarly and extreme terrain and you need a dropper post, you can get a brake lever with a lever to operate that dropper post. So I've not had the bike for long, so these are just my first impressions. There will be a more in-depth review over on road.cc in due course, so make sure you check out that. But for now, here are my observations from riding the new group set in 1x configuration. The first thing to talk about really is the shifting and braking performance, which, as we're used to with Shimano, is excellent. So it's a mechanical group set, and the shift quality is so light and so precise, it makes you wonder why you need electronic Di2. The brakes, well, they haven't changed much, but they're really solid, plenty of power, and thanks to the new brake lever hood design, it's much easier to control the brakes when you're riding in the hoods. So more control when you're riding down steep descents like this one here with an unpredictable and loose rocky surface. On to my next point, and the ergonomics of these new hoods is probably my favourite feature of new GRX. Shimano has really looked at the ergonomics of the hoods and also looked at how people ride in bikes, which basically amounts to riding a lot of time on the hoods. So we now have a raised braking pivot point, got reshaped lever blades which are wider and got scooped channels for your fingers to fall into, and you've got this raised rib texture on the rubber hood. The new hoods give you a much greater sense of control when you're riding over rough and unpredictable terrain. It's easier to pull the brake levers. The brake levers feel fantastic in the fingers with those scooped channels, and the ribbed sections on the top give you much better grip in the rain and the mud and when you're riding without gloves like I'm not today. So that's a real success of the new group set. So the group set all works really well. Brakes are fantastic, the gear changes are really nice, and it all just comes together really well, despite the fact it's not a ground up redesign. They've used existing cassettes and chains and other parts. They have done a good job of making sure it's cohesive as a group set. However, my biggest bugbear, which I alluded to in my previous GRX video, is the limited range. Now with this setup we have 2 chainrings to choose from at the front. We've got a 40 or a 42 tooth chainring, and at the back either 1140 or 1142. Now they do provide plenty of range for going up steep climbs and bombing down steep descents, but personally I like to see an even bigger range. So smaller chainrings at the front would be nice, maybe a 38, even a 36 for some really steep off-road riding or bike packing when you're adding extra weight to the bike and you need even lower gears. And unfortunately this rear mech won't take a bigger cassette than the 1142. I haven't tried putting anything bigger on. I'm sure some people will try and see if that rear mech works. So if you have tried, do let me know in the comment section below. But equally, as I want smaller chainrings at the front, I like to see wider cassettes at the back. I'd quite happily lose the 11 for a 46 on the back there, or 44, just to give you a bit more capability to be able to ride up the really steep climbs you often find off-road rather than have to get off and walk. So yes, for most people, for a lot of terrain, a lot of riding, the range on offer from the 2 chain sets and the 2 cassettes will be enough. And if you're doing more all-road riding, it will be just fine. But for really back and beyond off-road riding and bike packing, particularly with extra weight, or when you're carrying camping equipment and so on, you're going to want low gear. So I think that's something where Shimano have slightly missed an opportunity to really take the fight to SRAM. And the most recent launch from SRAM sees the ability to use the mountain bike Eagle 1050 cassette on the back, which is absolutely massive. Combine that with a Force or Red single ring at the front and drop bar shifters to provide a massive range, which is way bigger and more generous than anything that Shimano is currently offering. So to wrap up this video and my first impressions, and to go back to my original question, was the weight worth it? Well, to be fair, I don't think anybody has been waiting for this group set. SRAM has been really dominating in this sector, and lots of people, myself included, have bodged together their own Shimano 1x group sets using aftermarket chain sets and mountain bike cassettes and rear mechs at the back, especially with Di2, which makes it much more possible to merge mountain bike and road bike components. So nobody's been waiting for it, but I think the market has been waiting for it. Shimano are absolutely massive, and when Shimano do something, a lot of people usually get on board. And we're now seeing a lot of bike brands, manufacturers offering new bikes in 2020 with GRX, which is great because I've tested quite a few gravel bikes that have been hindered by Shimano's reluctance to offer a wide range group set with compacts and 50-34s, which just are out of place on an off-road bike. So we're going to see some better spec, smarter spec bikes for 2020 for sure, and it just gives manufacturers and customers, yourselves, more choice. But I think it's fair to say, on balance, it's a good group set. It works really well, performance is excellent, just slightly limited range, but I'm sure it will be addressed in the future. Those are my first impressions then, and there will be more in-depth review here on YouTube and over on our website, road.cc, so go check out that as soon as you can. But for now, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well, and I'll see you all again next time.